check, a check, 1, 2, a check, 1, 2. Sorry, it's been a while. I was trying to slow down more. I was posting too much. Anyway, welcome to another episode of the Sanity Trance. It's time, it's just time. This idea I want to talk about this time is called Peace with Eternity, or making peace with eternity, or peace for eternity. It's all connected, kind of side effects of each other, but only if you have your priorities lined up right in a way that can be agreeable, in a way that can put eternity in a box. It sounds crazy, but it's really not that big a deal. It's just a side effect of when you feel like you're most in your zone, when you're excited and inspired to be alive and keep going, and that whole thing. Everything's again a creative idea to leverage upon, so you can't really say anything's good or bad so much as like what you decided to do with it that might make it whatever it is in the end, if it's even worth thinking about, because who cares? That's a comparison of then and now, and what else did you think eternity was but a bunch of nows just stacked up? And it's it's one thing to be bored and need entertainment in life, but after a while it's like, how often are we going to keep going back and playing the same old movies or playing the same old games or whatever, doing the same old patterns? Is it instant gratification, or is it a conscious thing, or I just think after a while we might find ourselves doing these things unconsciously all of a sudden, just because there's nothing else to do, quote unquote. It's like we're definitely, I'm not. There's definitely a clock. We know we're all on our way out at some point. No one's gonna live through eternity, at least not with today's technology. But even so, it's more important to have a foolproof answer of what are you doing with your life and why. That will survive the question of if there's even an eternity to actually experience or not. It makes it irrelevant. And so if you haven't answered that question in your life, that might be where much of your anxiety is coming from. If you feel that kind of thing, if you're worried about the future, if you are even just feeling regret about the past or any of that stuff, it's like, it's really eternity kind of in disguise asking you, how are we going to be friends? How is this going to work if I really have to deal with the likes of you, and so, like, in my own life, I've kind of just found myself interested in way too much, and I don't feel like I'm necessarily, like, amazing, quote unquote, at any one thing so much as, like, just kind of going with my flow, with my gut, feeling like I'm in flow about it and not really having a reason why, or not. I couldn't explain it. I couldn't put a lot of my life into words, because that seems to be how it hits me, is just waves of abstraction, and I have to sort it out so I can eventually put it into words. But that's kind of what I love about this concept of making peace with eternity, because I feel like I have, and it's a very subconscious thing, and you're completely in line with it, whether you realize it or not, most of our life, and we're doing what our body feels like we're supposed to be doing. We're in these places that we feel like, I don't know, everything we're doing is kind of a result of our own creativity and the way we're interpreting ourselves. So it's to have anxiety about where we're going all of a sudden, if life changes drastically and all that. Really, eternity is just asking, what are you going to do next? All we have is a bunch of nows, and since we're creating these nows together as a whole society, or however you want to put it, we're just constantly in this dance, and there are things we figured out about this dance that we've all kind of accommodated ourselves around so we can survive in society and fit in and all that and get by. But then there's, once you get that, you can ignore it. It's like the bare minimum has officially been achieved, and it's not even something that has a necessary path like written out for everybody. It's definitely not a mainstream idea. It's like there's a lot of cultural things, but no one's talking about finding yourself. And you think you have until you keep thinking, until you get more time to experience this person, this idea you call yourself. You can find the constants in this expression over time, and you can see your patterns, and you can see which ones are worth keeping and which ones are worth breaking and which ones are worth making more efficient, all those fun things. But they're all based on eternity, always going to be waiting there for when things change or when things end. It's like when you finish that giant 10-year project you were working on, and all of a sudden your life is just kind of pointless, and then you're just sitting on the couch for the rest of your life doing the same whole bunch of nothing. And I'm not saying anybody really does this, but I feel like a lot of us do it a lot of the time. And I don't know as far as like how everybody decides to balance their time spent wherever, doing whatever like that, but like you can tell when there's gaps in this question, however it decides to be spent. And to me, I feel like it's a creativity problem. Like, on the deepest level, if you're frustrated with something, there's a symbol for yourself on something you could afford to have some time to work on, because if you don't fix that, you'll give it momentum, and then that'll be something that'll be even harder to unlearn. Maybe bad habits like a quick temper or things like that. But that's just like a small example. There's so many different kinds of anxieties about things, and I think a lot of in my own life, like I started out as a drummer and I thought that was all I was gonna do, but then I realized I really loved music as a whole, and I didn't really understand like how much of it it was just always in my blood. So I spread out to a few different kinds of instruments, and I thought that was all I was gonna do, was just do maybe like a few different kinds of instruments and get by around town like that, and go from there. Just let it kind of blossom. And as it continued to blossom, I found myself in new situations with new people doing new things, and I had to learn how to upgrade my creativity to survive and even coexist with these people and make sense of what's really going on. And you know, life would go on, and this would keep happening. And suddenly I find myself getting into fields of creativity that I thought I would never touch, like just even trying to build this podcast as a whole by myself has made me get into all these fields of creativity and learning all of them, and still trying to be a musician at first and foremost. It's made me realize a lot about what's actually going on a creative level. And these things that you can study in the world of creativity are literally endless fields of possibilities, especially as you get better and can conceptualize more. It's that's what it's there for, and that's how the future is created, and that's how the future is created for the rest of our existence. So that's kind of what we have in common with eternity right there, is our creativity. And so no matter what's going on in my life, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep learning, and I don't feel so gross about doing things that don't feel like they identify with the person I call myself, the idea. But I can tell when it feels right, when it harmonizes, and it goes through the veil, because then it doesn't matter, and I don't even have to care about the details of things or how I got there or what's going on. It's more like, this is right. This is flow, you feel it. You don't question it. And the more you're in it, the more everything just kind of is waiting for you to keep going, you know? It's like it just time seems to work in your favor all of a sudden. It's like you find yourself on the back of this giant force of nature instead of underneath it. And so I don't know. For me, making peace with eternity has been it's just a creativity thing, and the things I find myself anxious about are more challenges, and I'm not necessarily afraid to do them anymore because the person who I am as I go further, if it's all in just the best interest of moving forward at a higher efficiency in the name of being able to see tomorrow's creation, that who knows how inspired I'll be about it, but I never seem to be running short on that. That stuff's everywhere, you know, but it's only because I'm willing to see it like that. It's already like that anyway, but you know, we have the final say as the drivers here, so you know, it's valid. But you can tell if you're one of these people who just feels like there's nothing to do, or you just need more in your life, or you don't feel like you're complete without something to do, without someone else to live for, you know, those are illusions. They're creative illusions, and all that is suggestions to fill that gap that eternity is asking you, what are you going to do with this? With all this time, you know? And nothing changes your life like changing your life, you know, setting up really new books, interesting stuff about interesting stuff and how to get better at it, you know, knowing more and more about less and less as the world continues to change and evolve. And I mean, I don't know, there's no better way to be centered than to really just empathize with the flow and the process of production, you know? You just have to be careful about the idea of how you want to spend eternity, because if you haven't figured out how it's going to happen, then you're just going to be bored forever wherever you end up, whatever's going on. And even if it's not an eternity, you might be wasting it as far as the idea of opportunity cost goes. I mean, but don't let that freak you out too much, because whatever you don't do isn't real anyway. So you also didn't kill the dragons, you know, so big whoop. One doesn't weigh any more than the other. So just let them go if you miss out on whatever, but you have nothing but time otherwise, really. Like, you can do so much with so little. I don't think it's nearly as crazy as it sounds, especially with all the time in the world about it. And I don't know, just give it a chance. But be creative anyway. It's just the more you can answer in detail how you're going to use eternity as a tool, the more you will never have eternal anxieties, eternally based anxieties. Because you're in control of it. Who cares how hot it is outside? You know, you have the next say. Always. It is your perception. But anyway, hopefully that makes sense. I have no idea. But that's my perspective on it. At least to invite the option of acknowledging your patterns and upgrading them, because it takes time, but that's what time is for. We have it, and I hope that it's empowering the powerful things about you that are worth empowering, you know? So yeah, y'all be good. Peace.